Paul from Pashun Consulting once again, and here we are about to set up our first project, our first Scrum project in Jira. I'm here at the Atlassian Jira website where I'm about to set up Jira for our first Scrum project using a free trial. So in order to do that, simply click on try it for free. And then I'm going to go for this version. You can choose whichever version you want, but in true agile style, let's keep things simple for our team. And at the moment, it's a team which can run very easily using this version. So click on the try it free button. And then in here, you can enter your username and password. So we're going to enter info at Pashun Consulting. I enter my password. And we're going to call this, what will we call it? Let's call it Pashun website. So we're going to build a website. So let's call this site Pashun website at atlassian.net. And I can assure you I'm not a robot. I would not like promotional emails personally. Feel free to tick this if you would. So something's wrong here. My password's too weak apparently. Email already exists. Okay, so let's add in one and sign up. So that will take a while. And we're through to the next stage. Let's not add it to LastPass. So now we need to check our inbox for the access email. Possibly in the junk mail, and there it is. Verify. Here we are. So if I open that out, so now it's asking me a set of questions to find out what type of team I work in. So you could be in any team, or you could skip this question. You could choose any team, or you could skip this question. I'm going to say I am in a software development team because we're building a website. Which best describes what I do? Well, I would say I am, let's just say right now, let's say I'm the project manager. I don't want to invite my team just yet. So I'm going to say I'm new to Jira, and I'm going to say I'm new to agile methodologies so it can guide me through the process. We spend our time working on features, so click that, and we have a tight schedule. Who doesn't have a tight schedule? So let's go next. Choose a classic template. Scrum is recommended, so let's choose a Scrum template. And let's enter a project name. Let's call it Pashun website. Let's call it Pashun website with an S. So that will be the key. That will be the small identifier for this name. Create that. And there we are, we're in. So now you can see at the top, this is our first project. It's called Pashun website, and we've got a board related to this, and I'll go into that. So essentially I could say that we have created our first project, but I'm going to go a little bit deeper for you and get into creating our first backlog. So as we've already discussed, the product backlog is the list of all the features we require in the project or in the end product, in our end product. So to begin with, let's start creating a few stories. These are big stories or big features that we want in our product to begin with, and they'll be broken down later. So the first one, I think we should have a homepage. Now, when we write user stories, I'm going to write them the way we write user stories. If you're just getting used to it, you don't have to write things this way, but in keeping with the way that we write stories traditionally, I'm going to write, as a user, I want a homepage so that I can see an overview of what the company offers. There you go. So there's our first user story. And as you can see here, it's using the terminology for exactly what we recommend in Scrum. It's using terminology of story and backlog. So this would be the product backlog, and these are user stories we're creating. So what else? Let's create 3 pages in our website. It's not the world's biggest website to begin with, but let's start small and build from there. So the next one is, as a user, I want an about page. Let's update that slightly. Put the spaces in. And let's create one more. What else do we need? Let's have a product page. As a user. And if you want to know more about user stories, you can always see my user stories course, which gives you a complete overview of how to create those. But for now, let's just keep it high level. So now we've got 3 requirements, 3 features that we'd like in our website: a home page, an about page, and a product page. We know that it's the user that wants these, and we know the reason why we want to see each one of these, and that's all captured really easily in our backlog. So that's our list. If we want to go into a little bit of detail about what the acceptance criteria is, so how do we know when we've done each of these features? How do we know when we're finished? We can go into this description and add some acceptance criteria. So on the home page, we can say you should see top blog posts, top 3 products, the most popular book published by the company. And needless to say, that the page should match the design document attached. And this is just an example. For you, it will be completely different depending on what you're doing. If you're a marketer, if you're a marketing team, you'll have a completely different set of acceptance criteria. You don't have to write them in here. You could attach plans, but as long as it's simple enough to fit on the back of a card that would traditionally be used for user stories. And again, I can go into more about that in my user stories course. So I click save, and there you go. There's some acceptance criteria, and there's a story. So from the product owner's point of view, or from the stakeholders of the business point of view, we can define exactly what is needed in each feature within this website. But from the point of view of the team, what they need is some technical tasks that relate to each one of these user stories. They'll also estimate at some point how much effort this user story will take to deliver. So on this page, we've got the backlog, which is the list of the user stories that we want. And if you click here, you can do various things. You can convert to a subtask, which you don't want to do. You can log work. You can configure it. There's a lot of things you can do. You can even clone this. If you ever want to have a story that's very similar, you can clone it and then change it. That's what you can do there. So that's a little description of how user stories operate. Now, on to the next step. So what I want to do is I want to create a sprint to put these in. So within Scrum, we have a sprint planning meeting where the team can plan their work on all of these. And actually what they would have done prior to that is they would have estimated the amount of effort using something called story points usually, but you can use whichever metric you think you want to use under the guidance of Agile, as you can find in a lot of my courses, such as my planning and estimation course. But for now, let's just say this is, I'm going to estimate this at 20 in story points. So let's create our first sprint. And creating our first sprint just means there's going to be an area where we put the user stories that we're going to work on in the first period of time. So in the first week, or in the first couple of weeks, or in the first month. So let's create a sprint, and that's created this area. And let's say we want to work on, so let's get to begin with the home page done. Click this button when you're ready to start the sprint. No, we're not ready to start yet. We're just planning it. And we want to get the about page done. Let's get those two done. That's the beginning. We haven't got any products yet. We're quite early in the game, so let's not create a product page yet. So there we go. We've got the sprint. So now very quickly, we've created our list of user stories. So the list of features for the website. And we know the first two things that we want to do in the sprint. Usually this would be fully estimated. So let's make that match reality. Let's say the first one was a 20, estimated as a 20 in effort, and the second one was estimated, the about page, quite simple, is an 8. Now, in reality, we might break these down a bit. The home page would have various elements on it. It may have a menu on the top, and we'd break that down a lot more. But for the purposes of this demonstration, just to demonstrate the tool, we'll leave it at that. Which brings me to the next area that I want to discuss with you, which is sprint. So once we start the sprint, we've estimated it, and we actually start the sprint, we'll go into this active sprint area. And within the active sprint area, we can then plan it by adding more tasks, or actually we can see the plan is the most important thing. We can see the plan laid out differently. So let's start the sprint. Let's imagine we're at the beginning of the sprint. The duration is 2 weeks. That usually works for a lot of my projects, 2-week sprints. And the sprint goal. So what do we want to see at the end of this? So we have, well, I'll write it in present tense, a fully operational homepage and about page. Or let's say we have a website with a fully operational homepage and about page. That's what we'll have at the end of this 2-week period. So the team are happy with that. We click start. So here you can see we've got a different view. We're now in active sprints. We moved from the backlog, which is a list of everything, prioritized into sprints. We've moved into active sprints. And in the active sprints, we've got one sprint at the moment, active running. You should only really have one sprint at a time anyway. And it says what the goal is. We have a website with a fully operational homepage and about page. And these are the things we have to do. There are 2 stories in here. Nothing's in progress yet. Nothing's done yet. So I've done that. It actually says 9 days remaining. So 2-week sprint, we're working. This is set up so that we've got 10 working days in the sprint. And this is talking about after today, there are 9 days remaining. So at a glance, this is quite clear. We can see exactly what we've got to do. But what we don't have at the moment is if we look around, we can see that there are no subtasks. So the team don't actually know what it is that they need to do to build this yet. So let's create some subtasks. So the first thing we're going to do is we are going to create a layout. Now this is something that software developers would actually do. So if you're sitting in a meeting and you already had all the user stories, software developers would say, okay, what do we need to do? And I used to be a software developer, but it's been a long time. So if you're a software developer, completely forgive me for what I'm about to do because it may not bear accurate resemblance to what you would do when you're building a website. But let's say we'll create the layout first. And then the next thing we need to do is, what shall I do next for the home page? Let's say create header, headline. And then we're going to create blog post element. We're going to create product element for our top three products. So we're looking at this and we're working out what we need to do based on that. And then we're going to create a book, published book element. So these are various page elements we're going to create. So that's enough for now. So we've got all our tasks down, but what we don't have is for each one of these tasks, we don't have, can you guess? Don't have any estimates. So I think to create a layout, I think that's going to take, 2 days, including testing. Excuse me. So that's for the layout. The headline, I think, is a quick one, but I'm going to be a bit conservative here. So I'm going to say 5 hours. The blog post element is going to take longer, so I'm going to say that's 2 days. And I won't do all of them, but those are 3 of them, and you can see now we've got estimates next to each one. So we've got all of our subtasks, and we could have estimates next to each one of these. We can also have an overall estimate for the entire user story. So there we go, we've got an active sprint, and you'd actually do this usually before you start the sprint, but I just wanted to show you this layout and how easy it is to do it in this layout. So as the sprint's begun, some things are going to need to be moved into progress. So to begin with, let's say somebody wants to do the layout, somebody else is going to do the headline, and we're going to leave these for now. So once these are in progress, you can see very clearly they're in progress. And obviously there's a lot more you can do with Jira. You can set the colors so that things are a lot clearer. You can have like red, blue and green or something like that. And once something's done, you can just drag it into done. So here we have a nice workflow, nice layout. You can configure all of the columns. Everything's fully configurable there. And there you go. This is your first project planned out very, very quickly. And hopefully you can see how easy it is to get started with Jira. On top of that, there are a lot of other things you can do. So there are reports, there are many different types of reports. The most common one we use is the burn down chart, which will start off with all of the work that you have to do. And as time goes down, as you cross things off the list, it will show progress. Very good for stakeholders. Burn up chart, which shows the opposite. And I'll go into this in some of my other courses, some of my other Scrum courses. Sprint report, you've got bar charts, pie charts, and even some of the traditional ones you're used to. But as I say, this is just a very quick overview to show you just how simple it is to get started with Jira. Hopefully you can see how simple it is. Hopefully you can see that you could start your own first project and that you could literally do what I've done, but just change not from a website. It could be literally anything, a house, you could be baking a cake, it could be anything that you want to do, creating marketing plans, and you can end up with a very clear plan and some reports to go with it. So this has been Paul from Pashun Consulting, showing you how to set up your very first Scrum project in Jira. I hope that's been of value to you. You know exactly how to reach me via the question and answer area or via email if you need anything more. Thanks.